Welcome to Journey to Essence. My name is Bruna Gonçalves, and today we are here with Asa Sutton, and we are going to talk about Christian life, Jesus, and the awakening that is happening today. Asa, would you like to introduce a little bit yourself for the people that don't know you yet?
Well, that would be everyone who doesn't know me. There's not a lot to introduce, to be honest. What I can say is that I was not raised Christian. I was actually not raised religious at all. I grew up not like staunchly atheist, not in a way that was enforced or imposed, but it was we just grew up without God. That's the simplest way to put it. And for me, arriving at a lot of the sort of faith conclusions that I've arrived at have been a process, right? A process of discovery, of interrogation, sometimes for better or for worse, and a process of failure, which I think is very important. So I guess like you might find some of my thoughts or conclusions are strange, but that's because I come from a strange place, maybe. Or maybe not so strange.
You are very modest. I know, like, you go deep and you search a lot. You are studying and you're getting closer to God.
Certainly, but what I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't have what you would call a religious education, right? And I don't have exposure to a lot of doxology or doctrine, right? Like what I have done is read the Bible, or to be read a translation of the Bible, thought about what I've read, and like that's it. Like I'm approaching this kind of like a language arts student or like a literary student more than a faith, though the one has led to the other, right? And I guess to kind of get into the topic that we were interested in talking about, I have felt a lot lately that the more, and I'm putting this in quotes because I have to, the more traditional religious structures, at least in my own country, are misunderstanding a lot of the stories that they claim to be based on. And I think there is such a thing as, like, I'll use the phrase religious numbness. I think that's a very good phrase for what I observe, where you replace kind of the numbness of modern life, things like, the addictions we use to numb ourselves, or like spending that we, food, sugar. You take all of that and you replace it with another kind of numbness, which is everything is fine and I have nothing to be upset about because there's God. Mm-hmm. And I imagine when people hear that sentence, what I just said, in that tone, that kind of dismissive tone, they're like, what are you talking about? God is joy and love, and why should anyone ever be upset, right? It's a numbing of the full human soul. And I guess the reason I'm thinking about this so much lately is it feels so out of alignment with the actual textual character of Jesus. Like I have this idea in my head that maybe some religious scholar will come and slap me for, but I have this idea in my head that whoever you are, Jesus is the opposite of you. He's the opposite of everyone.
Yes.
Not just the opposite of some people, the opposite of all people, right? I have this idea of like if you were ever to like try to have a conversation with Christ, if you were standing, he would sit. If you sit down, he'll stand up. Yeah. If you like stand still, he'll start to walk in a circle. If you're calm, he's angry. If you're angry, he's calm. Whatever it is you're doing, he's going to fill like the negative space of who you are, right? And the Bible seems to be full of this. It's like, hey, are you collecting taxes? Stop collecting taxes. Are you paying taxes? Stop paying taxes. Are you not paying taxes? Start paying taxes, right? Whatever you're doing, stop it. No matter what it is, just like take your life in 180 degrees.
God likes to give you another perspective of things. I love that.
Yeah. And so I think like when I see people kind of, and the way I pitched this to you is like, is God, and more specifically Christ actually, because God is a big idea and Christ is human. Yeah. Is Christ a source of refuge or is Christ a challenge? Like, when I think about Jesus, should I be thinking, oh, everything's okay now? Or should I be thinking, uh-oh, it's time to get moving? Like, we got like chop, chop, right?
Yeah.
And I feel more like the challenge, right? Yeah, like one of the things I've been thinking, and I know I'm taking a lot of the time speaking, but one of the things I've been thinking about is like during the crucifixion, when Christ is walking through Jerusalem bearing his cross, and obviously Jerusalem was a smaller city, in 30 CE than it is right now. It's a much smaller city. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have millions in it. It's probably, but like let's say 10,000 people. I think it's not unreasonable to think that 10,000 people at one point or another watched the crucifixion, and nobody did anything.
Yeah.
Nobody did anything. And by the way, these 10,000 people, they weren't all just like people who hated Jesus, just to be clear, right?
No.
Like a lot of them were his followers. A lot of them loved him and believed that he was God and that he was walking to his death, and they did nothing.
They couldn't.
Why do you think that?
I think that it was God's plan. So God wouldn't change his mind. God wouldn't, because something needed to pay the price. Someone needed to pay the price of like sin. And there was only one who could do that. Someone that have never sinned before, and it was Jesus. So even if they wanted, what most of people want to stop those things, they couldn't. Because like when you see the Bible, at least in some translations, you're going to be able to see it, that God hardened the hearts of some people. So they couldn't change his mind, even though they wanted to, but like they didn't. They just like let it go, and the blood of like Jesus would be in the hands of like, You're
talking about Pilate.
Yeah, about him, but about other people too. In the Bible, you can see like a few other people that God hardened the hearts, like the Pharaoh, Joseph.
You're talking about like in the Abrahamic traditions, like the early, like Pharaoh's heart.
I'm talking about a lot of periods in the Bible that we can see the same thing.
Yeah.
So we can see this like through Joseph, like when he was. Like we can see it in Moses when like Moses were
he went to the Pharaoh. Yeah, exactly.
They were delivering the people. We can see it with like Joseph's life. We can see it like throughout like the Bible. We can see a lot of people that God are like softened their hearts or hardened their hearts, because like had purpose,
Right.
Like there were things that needed to do and would only happen if that happened. And a lot of people like ask about the free will, and we do have free will, but like a lot of times we don't.
See, I see that differently, right? Because I imagine a translation could read, Pharaoh's heart was hardened. But that could mean more than one thing. That could mean someone else came and hardened it, or it could mean that's just how it was, right? And I think the reason I'm pushing back a little bit, partially because of the free will argument, but partially because the actions in stories only have meaning when they're choices.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's true for normal human beings, and it's also true for Jesus.
Yeah, but
right? Jesus chose to die. He chose that.
That was a decision, exactly. But he also like Gethsemane, he also like, God, if it's possible, like pass this thing for me.
Yeah.
He also said that. So there's a lot of times, like even in our lives today, that's what people will like, see in their lives. They want to do something, but God don't allow that to happen, So it's like, yes, you do have free will, but also God knows what is best for you. And because he loves you, he will like guide you and lead you to the path that he has for you,
So this is where we differ. So I agree with you in the sense of God knows you and wants what's best for you. But I don't know that people are always able to clearly see that.
Oh, yeah, definitely not. People won't like see it until like most of the time people will see that only after the thing has passed, and they understand like, oh, okay, so like God didn't allow me to do that or live that experience or like, I don't know, have any kind of thing that I want to, because there was a bigger purpose for that. And now I am so grateful for that. So like there's a lot of times like there's people that they wanted to Christian people, right? They grow up in a Christian family, and then because they never had anything that they think and they see as fun, they want to go to what we call the world and try, drugs, all the kind of things that they weren't allowed to, but they wanted to try. And a lot of times God like let go because they know they will like return back. God, like, I don't know how God like choose who are allowed to go and who are not, but a lot of people are not allowed. God don't let them go, even though they want to. Something like God, like, I don't know exactly what God
But
does.
are you talking about choices or circumstances? Because those are different, right? Like if I'm like, I want to, the word is rumspringen, right?
Yeah.
Like if I want to go on rumspringen, it's an Amish thing.
Yeah.
Like, what's stopping me? Am I stopped because I change my mind? Or am I stopped because something in the world stops me? I think God does the second thing, but not the first.
Yeah, I'm talking about the second thing, because a lot of times you want to do something, but like God don't let you do it because, everything's closed.
I think, so going back to Jerusalem then at the start of this, like 10,000 people, like the whole, from a political perspective, the reason that Christ was being killed was because he was politically dangerous.
Yes.
That's what the Romans would tell you. And the Romans weren't wrong. They weren't wrong. If the Jews had decided to overthrow the Romans all at once, never mind how many people died, they could have done it. In that moment, 100% they could have done it. But they didn't. And we see this all the time. People see horrible things happening every day and they do nothing. And that's not because God stops them. It's because we are humans and we have a human nature. Like here's an example of this. Like I am not an extremely rich person, but I have some money in savings. And if I wanted to, I could take all my money out of savings, out of the stock market. I could take all of it. And to be honest, I mean, I couldn't change the whole world, but I could change some lives. I could legitimately do that. I could make some lives that are terrible a lot better in some really profound ways. And that's not special about me. There are a lot of people who could do that. And nothing is stopping me except for my own decision.
Yes.
Right? And I think that we are meant to look at that and be honest with ourselves. Like if I was in Jerusalem, I wouldn't have done anything. I know that. I'm not going to tell myself a story about like, I would have saved Jesus. I would have jumped out of the crowd and made like, ha, ha. No, it's ridiculous. I would have stood there and watched with everyone else. And there's not a person alive who would have done anything. That's our nature. Jesus was doing something which by definition only he could do. Only he had the courage required to do it. And only he could have ever had the courage to stop it. It's not that God put up a wall or like made everyone's arms get tired. He didn't have to. We're humans. It's like a chess game where it's like 50 moves ahead. It was always going to be that way because of how we are. And like the reason that I've been thinking about it, the reason it connects to what like the topic is, in my mind at least, is we kind of have this vision of Christ's, crucifixion and resurrection as being a victory, right? And in some ways it is. Christ wins that story, right? I think anyone will tell you, like the guy who comes back from the dead wins. Yeah. He wins. Do we? Do we get to look at ourselves the same way after we do that to someone? In broad daylight, in front of 10,000 people, and not a single person stops it. How are we supposed to feel about ourselves? Not good.
No, we feel guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all the time when I read the same passage on the Bible, I feel guilty because, like you said, you wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I also know I wouldn't do anything too. Yeah. But and people say, like, how come? Like, what should I do? Like, there wasn't much for me to do.
What you should do is admit it. That's it. Admit it.
Yeah, but like when I see like myself in that position, I also see like God's love, because He knew it. He knew that no one else would be able to do anything.
Yeah.
And even when like Peter, he tried to like do something when they were trying to take him as a prisoner. Jesus.
Yeah, he denied it 3 times.
Yeah, but like what happened when he like went and cut the soldier's ear? Jesus like went there and told like Peter, do not do that. Like, why are you doing that? I need to go to that. Yeah. He said that in a better way. Yeah. But we see that even Jesus wouldn't let that happen. At least that's my view. I could be wrong, but like, I feel like,
live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like a lot of things on the Bible, that's what I have seen, that things happen and things do not happen because of God.
Well, but think about it. It's the same Peter. It's the same Peter. Peter could pick up a sword and fight a soldier and cut off his ear. It's not easy to beat a soldier with a sword. Like, Peter's a tough dude. Full credit to him.
Yeah.
But that same Peter who picked up a sword was not able to defend Christ with his words on that same, or like the next day, basically.
Yeah.
3 times he denied knowing Christ, even though he picked up a sword and fought for him. That's why Jesus stopped him. Jesus said, you're fighting the wrong fight. I don't need your sword in your hand. I need your mouth open. And I want you to fight the fight that you will lose instead of the fight that you will win. Today needs to be a failure for you too. Right? You can't grow as a person if you don't acknowledge what's wrong with you.
That's true, yeah.
And so in some ways, like the crucifixion, again, victory for Christ, but condemnation of people. And again, and it's not like, oh, we're all going to burn. That's not what it means. It means like you need to accept some things about yourself. Stop telling yourself stories that aren't true.
Yeah.
Accept who you really are. Accept what you're really like. And that's the only way to change. Exactly.
And that is like actually what we started talking about, right? That Jesus like came and we need to change. We are not who we think we are. And we want to be someone, but to get to the point of we are like that person, nice, love, like caring, that are able to like take out all our like money in our accounts and give it to people. That's a huge thing,
Well, I don't think anyone can really do that. No one can really get to where Christ is.
No, not where Christ is, but we can get to a point where we are our best version. We can get to that point. Yeah.
I can accept that. Yeah. But I also, even that I question a little bit, right? Because Christ doesn't save those who are worthy of saving. Christ saves the unworthy, the explicitly unworthy. Trying to make yourself more worthy of salvation misunderstands the story.
I agree with you. And that's why, like, usually when you are closer to God, you understand all of the things that you do wrong. And you can see, like, oh, if everyone thinks, oh, your life is so good, it's perfect, how peaceful, I would love to live like that. But they don't see the things behind the scenes, They don't see the things you go through. Because a lot of people, it's not fun to post online, you crying or...
For some people, it's fun.
For some people, they do.
No, come on, Bruna, you know.
I know, but like most of people, we're talking about most of people.
Okay.
Most of people, they don't go on their websites and like live stream, they cry, look, I'm going through this hard situation.
Well, not yet. Give it a few more years. We're getting there.
Yeah, but like when we are with Christ, we understand that we have those moments that, no one is seeing. You need to do the best option for you. And you with God, you are going to get into a point that you understand, yeah, I'm failure. I do a lot of things that, I feel guilty about. I feel like condemnation. But I know like you were there, God. I know like Jesus, you die in the cross for me. So even though like I am not like worthy of anything.
Yeah.
I know, and I will just like do my best with the things that you put in my life. You gave me money. I'm gonna be like a blessing for people. That doesn't mean I need to give all my finances, but that does mean that would be so. Imagine like how it would be nice if I am generous with my finances.
Sure.
So like you said, you could help like, I don't know, maybe thousands of people.
Oh, not that many.
Maybe like, hundreds of people.
Maybe like 10 people, but still, like,
yeah,
that's not nothing. That's, one person, 10 people.
That's a pretty good impact. So imagine if like more than one people do that. We are going to be able to actually, touch thousands of people with like one act following the other. Yeah. But we are only going to be able to get to that point if we see like Christ face to face, like he confronting us, the things that we need to change,
Yeah.
Because like a lot of people, they're not able to like, they see someone struggling. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. But they don't do anything else. It's just, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What Christ invites us to do is actually being a brother, Because, like, you can have many friends, you can have a lot of friends, but when things are getting very, very hard, then you, like, make brothers and sisters, in those moments. And Christ did this with us, They put people in our life so we can share experience, so we can live, actually, what is, like, to live with God. We can live this experience because, like, there is a little bit of God inside of each of us,
I think so. You're talking kind of about the idea of like finding God in other people, or in like our connections to other people.
But more in the idea of letting God transform us, and know that there is something inside of the other people too, even though I don't see it. Because a lot of times, like the people that come to you for you to help, you don't know anything about that person, right? Like you just know the person is struggling, and but once like you are able to like help, you're gonna have like receive something from God, and like that person could be Christian, could not be Christian, and even like if it's your friends, like in your.
You see, I think you're saying something tricky though. That phrase, receive something from God. I wonder about that.
What?
Well, I mean, receive what?
A lot of things. You could receive gifts. Like, do you know, like, the Holy Spirit, like, the most important gift is the Holy Spirit. Right?
I think it's the only gift.
I mean,
that's what I would say. That's the only gift.
Yeah, but like it's the Holy Spirit, but then like there's all the other things that you can receive through the Holy Spirit, right? But there is a lot of things, like finances. You can receive like, a blessing from God to like be very prosperous. And like with that, like...
I wonder about that. I wonder about that.
There's people that like receive this from God as a gift.
Here's what I'll say. Mm-hmm. Do they receive it from God? Maybe. Is it a gift? Careful. I wonder a little bit.
Yeah, because like
about that.
When we go to the Bible, we see like Solomon.
Right.
He is talking with God. God is asking him what he would like. He could make a wish. Right. Like. And doesn't matter what it would be, God would give it to him.
Right.
And he asked for wisdom.
Right.
And God said, like, even if you ask me for, like, money, let's say this way.
Yeah, riches beyond the earth, yeah.
I would have given to you.
All right. And what happened to Solomon?
but that was like his decision because he had the wisdom. He asked for wisdom, right? He also got the money over there, but like one of his mistake was letting women from other country to kind of change his mind. Because
well, then was he that wise? This is what I'm saying. I think like Solomon did better on that test than other people would have, but I don't think he gave the right answer. The answer would have been you. I will give you anything, give me you.
I like that answer.
that was the right answer. But Solomon didn't say that. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm not saying, oh, Solomon's a terrible, he's not. He just didn't, we didn't live, what do you mean we? He wasn't around in a time where that could have been an answer. There was no Christ yet. You can't answer. You can't say, give me Jesus before there's Jesus.
Yeah.
So he's a little bit set up to fail. But my point is this. We can call these things gifts, but if it is easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven, getting riches is not a gift, it's a challenge.
Also a challenge. Because,
and if you see it that way, right?
Yeah, I agree with you, but I still think it's a gift, and with gifts also comes challenges. So every kind of thing that you do in your life that you are good at, it's a gift, You are a good teacher. It's a gift of teaching. You're an excellent writer. It's a gift of writing, and transmit something to people, to your words. When we see people that are good with their finances, some of the people only use that gift for themselves and their choice, Yeah. Solomon, he had his wisdom. He used that for good, but he also used that wisdom for other things that we know. So people, they can make bad choices. I believe that. But I think that we as Christian, and now that we see that there's Jesus, we see that there is a salvation, there is a way to actually have God inside of us.
Yeah.
I think with the gifts of God, we need to use it for good. And always asking God for wisdom and every day, not just one time. Because with Solomon, we saw God talk with him one time.
Yeah.
Right. But today we are able to talk with God every day. We can have that all evening meeting Aidan had with God. We can do that. Sometimes it's more challenging because, today's daily life is it's busy. People don't have that much time.
Right.
But if you do make God your priority, you can have the ability to use very well the gifts that God gives you, all of them. But you need to make God your priority. Like you said, if Solomon had said, he would be way different. Yes.
Well, I think the entire story of the Bible would have changed.
Yeah.
I think we almost can't unravel that. That's way too knotted, right?
Yeah.
I guess the other way to look at it too, it's you know that phrase, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, right?
Yeah,
the other thing about the word gift that I'm pushing back a little bit, because if you give someone a gift, it belongs to them.
Yes.
Right? You'll agree with that.
That's true, yeah.
But I think that nothing belongs to us except for the Holy Spirit. That's the only thing that belongs to us. I think that everything and you can use the words how you want, everything you get from God is not a gift, it's a loan. It's a loan. And he wants to see whether you plant your talents in the ground or do something with them.
Yeah, but even I agree 100% with you.
Yeah.
That everything that God gives to us, here loaning, there's the parables in the Bible that we can actually see that, of the gifts, that he will return and he want to see what we have done with that because it belongs to him. I do agree 100% with that. But I also think that, and I also agree with you, even God gave you an amazing gift. Could be any kind of gift, finances or, singing or anyone. we need to like acknowledge that the evil see people that are gifted and they want to take those people and let them down. You know, like take all the light that are on them and put darkness instead. So like we see so many people, they started singing at church and now they're singing for the world. You know, their inspiration is not God anymore. Their inspiration is things from this earth. So the same thing we see with like people that, you know, like
they've gotten caught in the thorns, you could say.
Yeah. So like we see people that still has the gift, still have the gift of God, but are using it for the wrong things.
Yeah.
So we can see that. But again, like our focus is God is Christ. So like for us to be able to like use it well and be a good servant, we need to be all the time with Christ, you know, and have that battle, like you said, you know, like stepping out of your comfort zone, stepping out of like the things that is easy, but also like let God confront you, you know, and show you like who you are and who you should be, you know, who like he created you to be. So like I know I am not even closer to the woman God wants me to be. You know, I know that, like we were saying before, that it's not good for you to do things to be worthy of. And a lot of times I think I'm not worthy of a lot of things. However, I know that through Jesus I am worthy of everything. Because like even though I am not worthy, Jesus make me worthy. You know? So there's this difference. And I think it's very interesting.
I think I wonder, it kind of, we were talking before this started about like the idea of what is heaven, for instance. And I think these ideas are related. Like, do you ever hear the phrase like virtue is its own reward?
Yeah.
You know that phrase? I think that, again, a lot of this is just like smoke and mirrors or like worldly illusions in a way. Yeah. And I think that like our idea of heaven or salvation or whatever you call what comes at the end of this is so different from the experience that we're having right now that it's like it's weird to talk about both things together, right? It's like in a way it's almost weird that Jesus tries to talk about heaven. Because and there's a reason that he only uses metaphors.
Yeah.
He only uses metaphors.
We wouldn't be able to understand, like not even as the simplest thing from heaven, we wouldn't be able to understand.
I mean, I think there are probably parts of it that we can imagine in some ways, but like a lot of it is abstract. I think that's the first, like a lot of it is abstract. Like for me, when I try to imagine it, like what is it that like the human soul craves more than anything? I think the human soul craves like relief.
Yes.
And closure.
Yeah.
Right? And I think like in a way, like human beings want to see the end of the story.
Yeah.
Right? We really we gotta, it's in our nature. We want to know everything. And I sometimes wonder if like, because heaven exists outside of time. That's another thing to consider. Like, I'm not going to spend like 10 million years in heaven or even forever in heaven. Like, those words don't mean anything.
Yeah.
Heaven is a state, not a place, right?
Exactly.
Like a state of being. So I wonder if like heaven is the state of seeing just in some small way the way that God sees. Seeing the whole picture. The whole story, all of the circles and squares and lines and connections, that full satisfaction of realizing being. And I wonder if maybe, like, in some ways, like, hell is, or perdition, or whatever you want to call it, is that exact same state, but seeing all of the consequences that your life had. Like, imagine that, like, instead of dying, like, you don't get like a big ceremony, no like cake or nothing, and no burning, no fire, nothing. You just get to see clearly all of the damage you did to the world, everyone you ever hurt, everything you ever did wrong, and all those consequences echoing forever into the future.
No one wants that.
If you get to just see clearly that you are a scar on the world, like, I don't think you need fire. I don't think you need that.
Yeah, that's like
Narrative consequences. That's what hurts.
that would be the worst nightmare forever, I think. But like the good thing is we can like trust God, right? We can trust God that if we are with him, none of this would happen with us. You know, even though we did a lot of bad things in the world, like, you know, that a lot of times you didn't mean to, but you did things that
And
like...
I think that's what heaven is. I think that if you live the right kind of life, your reward is seeing that your mistakes are going to be okay. Like, have you ever had that feeling where like you do something wrong, either on purpose or by accident, and then like it all turns out and everything's okay and you're just like,
Yeah.
that feeling is, I think, the real like reward of life, right?
Yes.
Absolution.
I don't understand much what's going to happen in the future, but one thing I'm sure, I'll be happy with Christ. And I will have a reward because this is in the Bible, and the city is going to be amazing. The new Jerusalem, you know, and everything.
I think that's a metaphor too. I think that's a metaphor.
Yeah, I know it is, but it's a representation of what happens in heaven, and I 100% believe in what is written in Bible. And I think like sometimes when we think about our dreams and things like that, I think that's what we are able to create in heaven. You know, I think when we get there, we're going to be able to create things that we want. Because like God is the creator, but he also gives us the power to create. We create so many nice things, you know, the airplane and, you know, a lot of like, even technology, we create that. And I think when we get to heaven, it's going to be so much fun. You know, we're going to be able to like become like child. I don't know how it's going to be our like second body, but like we're going to be able to be everything at the same time.
I wonder about that. I think like, to me, that's even that is too concrete. That's too solid, right? The phrase second body, like, why do you need that? I don't think you do. That's what I'm saying. I think like it's we have to like accept it all as metaphor for a metaphor for a metaphor for a metaphor, right? Like the phrase New Jerusalem, like I don't think that's a place. I think like when we talk about Jerusalem in the biblical context, we're referring to the spiritual center of the world, like the heart of the world, right? The New Jerusalem is a new shape of thought and existence, not like a new place that's somewhere else, but like a new like ontological structure almost, right?
I agree with you.
So it's not the New Jerusalem of this world. It's the Jerusalem metaphor of like a different idea, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's hard to debate about that.
Yeah.
You know, no one knows the answer.
That's true.
You know, could be like me, could be you. It's something that we'll never be able to understand until we actually get to there, you know. And when we get there, we're never going to be able to return back to tell everybody we found the answer. Yeah. So to finalize the episode, would you like to say anything to the people that were hearing us?
Would I like to say anything? I guess like, no, I'm not somebody to like give advice or to make prescriptions. I guess what I would say is follow in the tradition of opposites. Follow in the tradition of opposites. Like no matter what it is that you're doing, consider the opposite. Wonder about the opposite. Ask yourself, why not the opposite? You know, why am I not doing what I'm not doing? Not just why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Why am I not doing what I'm not doing? And I think a lot of the time, especially if you think about like biblical narrative as literature, you're going to find you're always going to find a parallel to whatever it is you're doing or not doing, right? Mm-hmm. It's a very like complete story in that way. That's my sign off, I guess.
That's beautiful. Wow, thank you so much,
Yeah,
Asa,
of course,
for everything. I hope you understood what we talk here in this video.
Hope.
Yeah, it's profound. We don't know how heaven would look like. We don't know a lot of things about God, about Christ, and no one would never be able to understand fully who he is, because Jesus, he is so much more than we could ever imagine, even for the disciples. The disciples lived with Jesus for 3 years, and after Jesus died, they knew another part of Jesus that they hadn't the idea that Jesus could be like that, Even though they lived with them for 3 years, they
spent those whole 3 years arguing with him too. They kept, every single passage in the Bible is Jesus arguing with them.
Exactly.
Everything they're doing is wrong. No matter how long they've known him, they're always wrong every single time.
Exactly.
He's just like,
yeah. And when Jesus died, they didn't believe Jesus would return, and when he did, they thought he was a ghost.
Yeah.
So we will never be able to, but we need to try. We need to ask Jesus. We need to ask God, every day, every time, to reveal himself to us. Because even though we are not going to be able to understand him fully, we are able to understand a little bit more about him every day. So that was the podcast for today. Hope you enjoy it, and we will see you next episode. Bye-bye.